In today's video, I'll be talking about auto ISO. Do you shoot in auto ISO or are you an ISO snob? If you come back in a jiff, I'll let you know why it's worth shooting in auto ISO. So, is it worth using auto ISO? In my opinion, I totally believe with the Fuji X system, definitely, and I'll explain why. So Fuji's have what we call ISO invariant sensors. I'm not going to go into it in this particular video, but there's a reason why I have to mention that. And the reason I'm mentioning it is because it means that the ISO auto function with Fuji X cameras can deal with auto ISO very well. And for any instance, let's say it didn't work out that great, adjusting it in post after, it really is no big deal. So I would strongly encourage you to give auto ISO a go. I think it's definitely worth doing it. I use it probably around 60 to 70% of the time. But the main times I really use it are more towards when I'm doing events, simply because it's one less thing I need to think about and I can really concentrate on getting my image, my composition, my framing, just the look that I'm going for, just having to not always have to muck about with ISO settings when you're thinking about shutter speeds and thinking about apertures and stuff like that. It's just one less thing to worry about. And I'm going to show you the best way to set auto ISO up on your camera and how I do it right now. Okay, so there's quite a few different ways where you can set your auto ISO if you need really fast access. So you can either assign it to your function buttons, or what I do here, I just go straight into my menu, which is under the My menu setting there. And then as you can see there, you have ISO auto settings. So I've got 3 different settings. In fact, well, the camera's always got 3, but these are my particular settings that I set. So I've got auto 1, and I can set parameters in that. So that's telling the camera I don't want it to go below, well, it can't go below 200 anyway, ISO. But you can up that. You could have a minimum of 400 if you wanted, to keep your shutter speed high, for instance. But I keep it at 200 because I want as least noise as possible. And then for this particular setting, I'll use this more towards daytime. So it's telling me there, I'm telling the camera I don't want it to go over 1600 ISO, and I want to hold a minimum shutter speed of 200. But you can set it lower or you can set it higher. It's entirely up to you and your way of shooting. So that's my ISO setting for Auto 1. Auto 2 is basically for slightly lower light. So this is set for a minimum of 200 and a maximum of 6400 ISO, and a minimum shutter speed there of 1/25 of a second. Incidentally, since the last Fuji update, your minimum shutter speed can now be set to auto. So auto means that the camera will automatically hold the shutter speed that it believes will not allow blur to come into your shot. So it automatically think, well, if I've got 35mm lens on it, I better not shoot at 1/40th or 1/60th, and the camera determines that. I've not tried that setting, but I don't really want to set it on auto. I like to determine my own personal parameters and adjust it accordingly to there. And then I've got my ISO 3 setting, which I use mainly when I'm doing events, really dark places, churches, dance floors, that sort of thing. And I've got that set to a minimum sensitivity of 200. So if I can get away with 200, which chances are zilch, and then a maximum sensitivity of 12,800 and a minimum shutter speed of 1/25. And that is auto ISO. That's auto ISO. My only advice is know the parameters that you set in your camera. Have 3 different settings. It's got 3 anyway. Set it to bright sunlight, midday sunlight, or early afternoon sunlight, and what you would use in a real dark situation. Remember, Fuji cameras are ISO invariant. It doesn't matter if you're slightly over or slightly under. In post, you can boost the exposure up or down, and it wouldn't make a difference if you had your ISO set at a higher or a lower level. Okay, I will go through ISO invariance in a little bit more detail and show you proof how good these cameras work with auto ISO. Secondly, it's really important that your parameters that you set, you don't set your shutter speed too low. You do not want it to introduce any sort of motion blur within your images, because that's kind of pointless unless you're going for an artistic style, but then you certainly wouldn't use auto ISO for that. You would use your camera and you would select your settings as normal. Do I think auto ISO is perfect for all situations? Definitely not. But it can get you out of a lot of crap if you're doing something quite important, if you're doing a paid job, or even if you're not, even if you're just doing it for yourself. And even street photography works brilliantly. I always use it in street photography because I can basically set my parameter. I know top of my head at what shutter speed it's going to be. If I don't want that particular shutter speed, there's nothing stopping me choosing my own shutter speed and keeping auto ISO still active, and using the front control wheel to be able to actually set the particular shutter speed that I want but keeping the auto ISO. If you use it, you'll know what I mean. I can't really articulate it, but the camera's clever enough to know what your programmed values are, your programmed parameters. Give it a go. It's really good, and I can guarantee if you do give it a go, you will more or less shoot with it all the time, because it's that one thing less to think about, and you'll have more time framing, composing, and making yourself some awesome images. I hope that was helpful, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.